Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. There must be some sort of religious commitment people make to be in the Liberal Party that dedicates them to not learning from any mistakes made. The Liberal Party, after mulling over potentially using the Reform Act last week, has now voted to not use it. This Global News article reports Liberal caucus chair James Maloney says party MPs have voted against adopting a formal process to eject their leader should the need arise. And that's the problem. Should the need arise is a very key thing to remember. It's not like they're voting to get rid of Mark Carney now, but they should have the power to do it. And I'll link that article in the description below and pin it in the comments. It's absurd. There are like liberal MPs that actually kind of surprised me, like Ryan Turnbull, who was arguing in favor of using the Reform Act. And then you'll have like other members of caucus saying, I think we're actually already good enough holding each other accountable. It's like, what excuse is there to not use the Reform Act other than Mark Carney doesn't want any rules applied to him? He just wants to be able to do whatever he wants, and screw you. That's what the Reform Act basically is that MPs themselves in caucus can basically vote Mark Carney out if he starts absolutely going insane. Like if he starts doing stupid stuff the way Justin Trudeau was for a year and a half, making mistake after mistake after mistake, and his popularity going down and down, there should be a way of formally basically voting that we should vote to either get rid of him in caucus or we should throw it to the members to vote whether they want the leader to stay or go. Because this is like what happened under Trudeau. And you'll have MPs in this article say, we're good at holding each other accountable. We're good at opening the kimono behind the scenes and basically having all the problems talked about. I'm like, no, you're not, because you guys couldn't get rid of Justin Trudeau. He just decided to walk off into the snow at one point because of how bad the leadership was. Everything was so bad in the polls. The fundraising was so bad. Justin Trudeau eventually had to conclude that he had to leave. And then they were able to pull an upset off with Mark Carney in the election. And now the Liberals are sitting around being like, let's do that again. Let's have no accountability. Let's have no ability to stop this guy if he just decides he wants to engage in massive corruption and just dare us to get rid of him because we can't. It's so, and they're going to let him act like a dictator again. It's just like Justin Trudeau. They're going to let him do whatever he wants, just constantly shuffle people out of a cabinet who he doesn't like, who complains about him. And then if there's any real problems, they just have to hope that Mark Carney will eventually step down. Well, there are other issues today I want to talk about. One is the fact that apparently, guys, after this very consequential election, Parliament is barely going to sit. And yeah, technically, a bunch of the year has already been eaten up by the election and whatnot. I don't think that's an excuse. If anything, that should make them want to pack the rest of the year full of sittings for the Parliament. But for the rest of the year, which is the entire year in Parliament, because we haven't had a sitting yet, the House of Commons is scheduled to sit just 73 days this year, the fewest since 1937. What? Like this? Why? I thought we just got through a consequential election and we're in a crisis, and Mark Carney is here to save us. He's here to, get in there in government and fix the problems. No, 73 days. Just, a few weeks, just a few weeks of sitting, and that's all we need. Like, let people actually just open it up for the entire year. Show you're transparent. By the way, the government doesn't need to have important votes all the time, so you can just open parliament and have business running all the time, even if only half of MPs are showing up, but it allows questions to be asked. It allows committees to function. It allows people to put forward their own private legislation. Well, I guess we're not going to do that. This is just obnoxious to me. No, we need Carney to get through this crisis. You'd hear during the election, Mark Carney's the man to fight back against Donald Trump, the Americans. All the problems of the country are serious, and we need a serious leader like Mark Carney to steadily bring us through the storm. And then he gets in, doesn't want the Reform Act, doesn't want to do any of the reforms that would have prevented a lot of the excesses of Justin Trudeau. And now, we'll kind of sit. I have a vacation to go on. They're not even going to sit through the summer. they're going to like do a couple weeks or whatever, like a week in the summer, and then they're just going to be like, well, we're just going to take the summer off because we usually take the summer off. Usually, I thought this was not a usual year, but apparently we can just take a summer break off in the middle of what is a crisis, apparently, that we need Mark Carney to. My prediction here, and it's not going to be very surprising or shocking or, oh, that's a novel idea, Wyatt. Mark Carney is going to rule as much as possible through orders in council. He will obviously at times have to push through legislation, but this guy is just going to act through the pen. He already did it with spending $33 billion into the various departments, signing them $33 billion of spending, which the CBC said, no, that's just to bridge the gap before he passes his budget, presumably. And then he didn't do that, and he announced, yeah, we're not going to put out a budget until next year. And then when that got enough pushback, he said fall. But he can always just make up another excuse not to do it in the fall and do it next year because he's already been making excuses up to this point. Why is this excuse and this fake date going to be any more real than the rest of it? It's all so dumb. He's going to continually do things in the background, impose tariffs and then take off tariffs just through, his pen. Just do things for show and then get rid of it at the last moment. Like, again, he did during the election, running on the idea, well, I'm counter-tariffing the Americans. And then on like the thing like the 15th of March or whatever, or the 15th of May, just gets rid of it. It was March, not May or April or whatever. He just gets rid of all the tariffs in the middle of the election, then continues saying, oh, I put counter tariffs on them. I'm like, yeah, maybe there's like a tariff left on like really specific products, but it was not what anyone would have assumed to be like a big countermeasure. If anything, we've always been taking countermeasures because we have the supply management system that imposes massive dairy, softwood lumber tariffs, other sorts of like manufactured good tariffs on the US in order to protect certain industries in Canada. It's all so tiring. But I had to bring up this thing. It's so stupid. I had to bring up this one post because sometimes I just like to bring up stuff where it's not really worth a video, but I just have to talk about it. Some people's lack of knowledge about Canadian politics is like maddening. There's this one guy, Roddy, who it is an anonymous account, but it's a fairly popular anonymous account that's pro-liberal. He says here, the Liberal Party of Canada, 3 election wins, leader resigns. The CPC, 4 election losses, nope, he's our guy. Is he actually under the impression that Pierre Poilievre has lost 4 elections? The Conservatives have usually gotten their leaders to step down. Harper stepped down after he lost in 2015, then Scheer stepped down after 2019, and then O'Toole stepped down after 2021. Poilievre is only going to survive simply because he actually wields a lot more charisma than the average Conservative leader that has come before him. Scheer and O'Toole and Harper, when they lost, there really wasn't much left other than because the promise was they could win. And that was really kind of it. And if they can't win, what's the point in keeping them around? Where you can say Pierre Poilievre has actually done some real nation building inside the Conservative Party and actually made made it tougher over time. They need to get rid of Jenny Byrne, like ASAP. They need to get rid of some of the really bad HQ staff that I think let down Pierre Poilievre, basically ran a lackluster campaign for him, told all of their grassroots candidates, don't be grassroots, basically just sit at home or door knock, do nothing, don't go to any events, don't go to debates, don't put out your own literature. We'll tell you exactly what to say. That's why they ended up losing. Poilievre, in fact, was very controlled by Jenny Byrne, and you could even tell by a lot of his, media appearances, a lot of his rallies. Unlike the leadership race, he started just kind of repeating the same thing over and over again. And during the leadership race, obviously he had a stump speech that he'd repeat, but he'd go off on tangents and he'd talk about stuff. And during the election, Jenny Byrne and the JB and Associates people that staffed up headquarters for the Conservative Party basically just said, talk about only the blandest issues no one could disagree with. And then they did that and they didn't win because they needed some oomph. They needed some, audacious policy that got people talking, and they ran on a 15% tax cut under $50,000. No, you run on a 15% tax cut for every bracket, and you lower corporate taxes by 20%, and then when the other guys attack you as being too corporate, you go after them and say, so you want our businesses to get outcompeted by the Americans? because that's basically what they're saying by not wanting tax relief. Run on a big audacious policy on social issues, a parental bill of rights. We are going to run on something to protect your parental rights. We're going to run on some soft pro-life policies to ban sex-selective abortion and to increase criminal sentencing for killing a pregnant woman, because the Liberals literally voted against the latter of that, which is insane. So run on that stuff. It would polarize people in your direction. But now I'm just going on a tangent. But this National Post article says, Poilievre looks to move past election loss, show conservatives as a government in waiting. And this is really what Poilievre said. This is probably his office. No, don't be the government in waiting. That is the tactic that the conservatives have gone with for previous elections. It doesn't work. And this is to say, stop doing these weird put-ons where, no, now in this scene, I will be the government in waiting. Just do your job day to day. And this is like, because Poilievre, you could say, before the last election, maybe was too aggressive. He should have let his opponents make a mistake, never interrupt your enemy when they're in the middle of making a mistake. Maybe there's a couple tactical errors. But I hate this idea that, no, he was too aggressive before, which I don't even agree with. I think it's just needed to be better placed at certain times. Like when Justin Trudeau was super unpopular, just leave him alone. Just let him stick around. Don't put pressure on him to leave. Don't let the Liberals correct their mistake with Justin Trudeau. But the problem that, like, with that wasn't just that they were being aggressive overall. The aggression was very good at times. The attack dog pose that not pose, but the attack dog kind of function that Pierre Poilievre usually fills was very good when Parliament was still in session and he was hammering Justin Trudeau day after day in QP. That was very good. I don't want now for the Conservative Party to shift and now we all act like parody versions of elder statesmen and we're like, I don't like what the Liberals did there. I hope someone elects us one day. Well, do something big. I would always just say do something big. The problem was there's too much criticism and not enough, here's my big vision solution. Always have a big vision solution. Don't be like, they're messing it up, the country's broken. Also, can we adjust the taxes down like a little bit? That will fix it, just a little bit. You got to be big. Be big. If the problems the country are big, be big. If anything, Mark Carney did that well during the federal election. Even though he's a complete phony, he pretended like he was air rushing down the mountains of change. Like he's a fresh breath of air for Canada. He's going to do big things for us. And the Conservatives just kind of really ran on change. It was just, we need change for a change or whatever the slogan was. And it just didn't work. It didn't connect with people because it was just, there was no big policy keystone that held it all together. There was no massive tax cut or massive regulatory reduction. They even kind of backed off getting rid of CBC because they're like, well, Radio-Canada is popular in Quebec, so we don't want to touch it. Well, guess what? You're not going to win Quebec ridings outside the ones you already have, so just go for it. Just say you're going to get rid of all of it because that might actually make more people turn out for you. But now I'm just going into campaign manager mode again. Anyways. I'm actually, because I'm wearing a sweater. I've never worn a sweater in these videos, guys. I'm heading off to Victoria in a second here. I'm literally filming this in the 5 seconds I have before I have to get in the car and go to the airport. But it's going to get crazy this next week. I'm going back to Victoria, where I am the most hated staffer in the entire province of British Columbia. It's not just because I'm an outsider Albertan, but because a lot of the BC Conservative people don't like that I'm helping the independents out because, I don't even know. They don't like me because they used to love me, and really they still do like me. Most of them actually just flat out like me. Like most of the Conservative MLAs and staffers are totally fine with me, but a bunch of the more woke people hate my guts because many of them may have not actually been elected without me and other more conservative people helping get them elected, and then they really resent us now not continuing to help them, even though they don't deserve it, and they flip-flopped on so many policies. I'm going to have to do an entire video on the constant flip-flopping of the Conservatives on this one issue of UNDRIP and DRIPA. They are so beholden to the reconciliation consulting industry right now, and they're pretending like they're not at this, but they cannot pull off pretending. They're not even good at pretending that they're not in favor of this ongoing lobbyist industry of just extracting taxpayer money on behalf of First Nations people, even though it's a bunch of white lawyers and consultants getting money to dispute fake disputes about land use and whatnot, when it should just be public land. It should just be land where if it's a native person's land, let that individual native person own it. stop doing this nonsense where band council owns it, because it's undermining. I'm ranting. I'm ranting, and I'll be back later. But like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, do something like that, guys, and I'll see you later.